Hi, hi. Good morning. Joe Winberg, Bluebird Center for about 10 after 10. And this is probably April 22nd. I know that because later on today, I'm going to go to Amici Opera up in Philly. That would be Philadelphia for those of you who don't know, just Philly. And so, I'm trying to get things done so I can get out of here around 2 o'clock to drive a couple hours up to Philly and see the Amici Opera, which is a very small opera company, but they're always giving performances, always. I think the person who put that together, uh, just a phenomenon. He's, 3 or 4 years ago, when they were giving a little bio on the guy, he had already done many of the major bass roles in many of the famous and some not so famous operas. It's over 750 at the time. He's probably up to 800 now. Just phenomenal. And he gets these really good opera singers who like participating in this for a variety of reasons. Some, it just keeps them in practice for their more professional jobs. And it's quite the thing. Now, we're going to go see Joan of Arc, a Verdi opera. Now, I happen to be a big fan of Verdi. Joseph Verdi, and Giuseppe Verdi. Let's call it Italian. Giuseppe Verdi is. If you're going to go to this opera, the music is going to be exquisite. And generally speaking, all the singing parts are exquisite too. Like, for example, a good sample would be to go see Nabucco, and you won't see anything. Wow, it's as great as they get. So anyway, we're off to that. But the reason I wanted to talk today is I had mentioned, and I don't even know if I posted it, in another video that I came across probably 4 or 5 months ago, the fact that you could plug in 3 digits in your regular television while you're watching some regular television. God only knows why you would be doing that. Watching the Super Bowl or something. But you plug in these 3 digits and you get to YouTube. And of course, the first thing I did was go look for Bluebird, and sure enough, there it was. So anyway, I was on television, folks. Listen. So it's all these videos, just tons of them. I mean, you'll never run out of videos. And in the beginning, I saw them, and they were quite to my liking in that I was getting decent information on a lot of subjects, not deep, not a deep dive, but a lot of information that was touching on every subject imaginable under the sun. All the various histories that I'm interested in, all the various areas and regions of the world that I'm interested in, and now you get a gloss, some understanding, and names and places would pop up, and after watching the video, I'd go into the magic box, plug that word in, and find out more about it. So I found that this was a wonderful thing. But recently, for some reason, and they track you and see what the heck you want to see. So for some reason, probably for the last 3 or 4 weeks, let's go with 3 weeks, I've been getting a lot of videos thrown at me for selection, which are things that I would like to see. But what's going on is I'm getting to see a lot of background, the way people live in these different parts of the world. And it's not the prime motivation for these folks doing these videos. The prime motivation is, as far as I'm concerned, to put themselves in front of a camera and get their blogs and their other things more popular, which is fine, and think that they have, the individuals I'm talking about, I think they have a good talent for this. One of them, you've probably seen him. He goes by the tag name of Northman, and he's just extremely funny in a satirical sort of way. But he never does anything spiteful in a way of derogatory expressions about these people. But the point is, for the most part, they're all living in hideous conditions. They're like poor, but not the very, very poor. They're not the, they're not starving to death, although some are, way in the background of these videos. But they're poor, they're very poor. They really have no chance at a life like you or I. They just don't. They'll be beggars forever. And the places that they live are just hideous. Crowded, noisy, vulgar. By that I mean the description of the infrastructure. Just terrible. And this is like all over the world, you know. Here in the U.S. of A., we kind of disguise that. We put that under the rug so you can't see all the impoverished people and the people who we would sometimes call the lower classes. We concentrate on anything. It's the middle classes. And if you don't believe that, just go watch regular television, see the shows, and then see the advertising. They don't put a bunch of starving people in the middle of one of our slum neighborhoods to advertise some detergent or a trip on one of these hideous cruise ships. No, they don't. But these documentary types, they don't have a dog in that fight. So they just go around filming everything. And I gotta hand it to them. They do a darn good job. I know at least one of them is holding the stick, you know what I mean? So you do the selfie. He's holding the stick the entire time. And while he's talking, he's got half of him in the video, in the frame, plus the area that he's talking about. And it's just a marvel what he does. And he's done a number of places, but in my look at the world, I always loved the Himalayas, Nepal. I thought Nepal was great, but I misinterpreted what Nepal was all about and what Kathmandu was all about. But this guy, without him trying to really point out these less than meager existence that some of these folks live by, he's filming it, he's enjoying it, he's socializing with the people there. The man is to be commended. I guess he's got a blog and all that stuff, but one of these things people don't know about me, I won't like anything, click on like or do subscribe. I just won't do it because then they get my personal information. And one thing I don't want them to have is my personal information. Nobody gets that. But that being said, there are some things I can't avoid, and I have to give it out. Like, for example, the recent, I won't even tell you about that. I got to put that up on here sooner or later. Now, so I just wanted to get back and give these guys a thumbs up, although I'm not going to really do it, because then you got to, give your email and blah, 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 blah. And I told you that I'm having a book published, and it is published. I just haven't seen it yet. It's always one thing or another with these folks. But I will see it. I think this week it'll come to me, some hard copies. You could actually get it. You go to Amazon Books, you look for Blackbird, Joseph Weinberg, boom, you could buy it. You got the Kindle and you got the soft cover. So once again, Amazon, Amazon, the name of the book is Blackbird, but you got to put my name into Blackbird Joseph Wenberg, and then it'll come up. Some folks, like my daughter, said she just plugged in my name, and it came up, which speaks volumes to the fact that, you know, a place like Amazon doesn't have one server that you hit and then you get directed to what you want. They got hundreds of servers all over the place, and they act slightly different. You know, so obviously my daughter got to some server that didn't require to do an Amazon search. She just typed in my name and maybe the name of the book, and it came up. So, that being said, when the book does get here, I'll do a posting showing the book. I'm sure you're thrilled to know that. But the big point of this whole video is to say that these videos you can see on the YouTube channel, and I particularly like seeing them on television rather than with the Magic Box. The Magic Box, which is this cell phone thing posing as a camera, is heinous, hideous for viewing. It's just fun, just very, very fun for taking the videos. But that's it. Drop it there. And even for the sound quality, listen and watch it on your laptops. The sound quality is just 100 times better. Now, of course, I got an antique cell phone, which I am thinking of upgrading. And but I got to think on that, because it's always money, and then it's always exposure to my personal information. So, and the point is, if you know me, you don't want to know my personal information. You just don't want to know. So, all right, so I am going to say thanks for listening this morning. I'm going to put this right up there because I think this is breaking news. Those documentaries on a YouTube channel are showing, in many cases, the world of today as it is, with people from the lower classes being, you know, just being abused. You know, and you will, if you have the same background I have, you will see sites that tell you people are still living in the atmosphere of slavery when they were picking cotton and cutting sugar cane, and they had terrible diets and hideous water to drink. All over the world, people are still embedded in that. So when people tell you we got rid of slavery, that's only on paper. It's only on paper. And what these documentaries also do, they're showing a really good light. They're shining a very good light on water, rising waters along the coasts, out in the middle of the Pacific. They're showing it's not something that's going to happen, it's happening. And whether it's happening in southern Florida or other places along the United States East Coast or in the islands of the Pacific, it's happening. And don't let some government official sitting on some panel tell you they got scientists looking at this. They could have all the scientists they want looking at this. It's happening. Islands are disappearing. Acres and acres of land in South Florida are gone, and more are going. Okay, that's it. And the remarkable thing is that these people in governments and in these bureaucracies, they'll make statements that tells you how it really is. They'll say, oh, we've got to do something about this because we got to save the property. We got to save the property value for our constituents. They don't get it. They got to save the world. They got to save the world, the environment. Okay? If the people were stupid enough to buy that property right on the highest crest of an ocean wave, let them go under. Nobody cares. At least I don't. They should go under, and no government in the world should take care of them. Now, the government out there in the middle of the Pacific is doing the right thing. It's got a small country, maybe 100,000, 150,000 people, I don't know. But he went out and he bought land in Fiji. So he's gonna move all his people to Fiji, which, has high volcanic mountains, and it's not gonna go under with this climate change and water levels rising. Not in the beginning. Maybe at sometime it will. But so governments, right-minded governments, can do the right thing, and I see that in the documentaries throughout, and it's mostly in smaller countries where the rich haven't taken over yet. That the governments are doing the right thing when it comes to flooding and inundation caused by global warming. But in a place where there's property involved, you ain't gonna see it. No way. You're gonna go and try to save the people's monies. Now, the people, and I'm talking about the rich here, the wealthy, eventually they'll just make a calculation and they'll assume, they'll understand that they cannot save their marinas in Fort Lauderdale or in Key Largo or Clearwater Beach. And they'll just say, okay, that's it. They'll cut their losses and they'll move on. They'll go somewhere else because they got the millions and the billions to do that. But the rest of us, if you're living on the shore, man, I'd be getting myself out of there. Now, I live, in close proximity to two bodies of water, the Atlantic Ocean and the Delaware Bay. But I happen to be, I believe, at 28 feet elevation. It's 28 feet above sea level, which is unusual for where I live, because most of the places are like, if anything, 6 feet above sea level. And those places are going to be gone. Certainly, a great deal of erosion will take place by the middle of this century. And then by the next century, a lot of places are going to be gone. Not only where I live, but up and down the East Coast. And as far as I can tell, most people are in denial. Why not? You look out, you see a lovely sand dunes, you see the lovely meadows. You say, well, this is great. I'm not doing that. This is fine. Let me tell you, the sea is not anything to fool with. When it wants to rise 10 feet, it's going to rise 10 feet. And there's nothing. Any scientist, any baloney politician, or businessman, technologist, they're not going to do it. You're not going to beat the ocean. You're not going to beat climate. You're not going to beat the developing, it's not developing glaciers, but the shrinking glaciers. You're not going to beat that. If you haven't looked, go look at the status of the glaciers around the world. A lot of places where there used to be glaciers, there's no more glaciers. All that ice has turned into water and is in the ocean, raising the levels in the ocean. I mean, and I, before I got where I am now, I was walking in a wonderful wildlife space, and some folks came up to us, and we had a little chit-chat. And they found out that I was looking to buy something in the area. And they told me, listen, you got to watch about the water. Because a lot of these places, on a good day, you don't see it, but, come a good rain or a northeast or something, they get seriously inundated. And they told me, the way to avoid that is that in the entire counties, there's one and possibly 2 ridges. This whole place was under the ocean at one time, so the ridges were sand dunes. They were underwater islands of sand, but underwater, and eventually that becomes sand dune, and as the water levels subsided, this region was made land, and those ridges are the high points. And these people told me, look for those ridges. Look where you're buying. And quite frankly, I hardly ever listen to anybody, but I almost bought something that gets inundated, or actually two properties that get inundated, but I did. So I finally bought something that is, like I said, at 28 feet, and it is actually on one of the ridges that goes north and south. And it's practically the highest point around me. So for the time being, I feel okay. I feel safe. But on the other hand, I know full well that there's always possibilities for water to move in to low points, come up and encircle you, take you out. There's always that possibility. But for the most part, I feel good. I'm at 28 feet above sea level. I don't have shore property, but, you know, like I said, I got the Atlantic over there, and I got the Delaware Bay over here. So, I'm pretty good. I think, from a seawater rise perspective. And, you know, these people are so arrogant. There's one developer right now. He's going to put approximately 80 units, condominium fantasy world is what he's trying to develop on a spot that's been pristine and untouched for forever. But it's right at the western tip of a great estuary, marsh, meadow, you know, and he's going to come in there and bulldoze and raise the place, you know, and he's going to tell you about how he's being so environmental. Look, let me tell you one thing. If you got a blade of grass on your front yard and you destroy that blade of grass, you're not an environmentalist. You're just not. You're cutting down trees on your little 1 acre lot. You're not an environmentalist. You're a destroyer. So this guy, he's trying to make everybody think he's the big environmentalist come down to save the world. He's not. He's going to ruin approximately, I think it's, I don't know, a couple hundred acres. He's going to ruin it. He's going to bring more people in. They're going to have bars and restaurants in there. People are going to come out on the road. There's not that many roads down here. But in the summertime, there's billions of people. So they become out drunk on the main roads. They'll kill each other. And this guy will have all his money in a bag someplace. Maybe he'll bury it. You know, like, who was that captain? Captain Kidd. And so on and so forth. But this I really got carried away because I touched on climate change and the inundation in the world's waters that are happening. And I'm quite sure there's many of you who haven't been out on a small boat in the middle of the ocean, or not even the middle of the ocean, just offshore, 20 miles, 10 miles. But you need that experience to understand the ocean. You need it, or even the bay. The bay, I spent a considerable amount of time on the bay recently, and that can get very serious, very serious. And break out a map of the east coast of the United States and take a look from New Jersey down to Georgia, and you'll just see that it's all estuary, the whole thing. Yet the homes have been built up and down. You got the high rise, the low rise. You got all this. You got roads. You got schools. You got churches. You got hotels, motels up in the East Coast. They're all going to be whacked when the water rises significantly. And I say, all you're going to need is about a 3 to 5 foot rise in the average water height, seawater level, to just wipe out the East Coast. Now, the so-called scientists say that the level is going to rise 10, 11, 12 feet over the entire, global warming event. The sea's going to rise much more than 3 to 5 feet. So, you know, should read the writing on the wall and get yourself a nice apartment in Hoboken or Tenafly. First of all, you come down here and you don't even want to enjoy the natural environment. You spend your time in the bars, the restaurants, and in the events. Oh, the events. You gotta have the events. This show, that show, the other show, this musical show, that show. You don't come down here to enjoy the environment, so stay in Tenafly, stay in Teaneck, stay in Hoboken, Jersey City. Just stay there. You get all that stuff up there. You don't have to drive in miserable summer traffic. You don't have to pay high prices. Just stay there. Leave this grass and trees alone, you know? Goodness gracious. I just don't get people. Do you? I don't. Listen, I'm going on and on. I don't want to, so I'm going to say bye-bye. Hope to see you soon. And look for those videos, those documentaries, and you know, see what you think of these places that in the background you're seeing the less than humane way people have to live, and see what you think. Okay, I gotta say bye now. I'm gonna hit the button. Bye.